The skills we learn through education. Education comes from repeatedly doing things and learning from that experience. The information that we acquire to learn things comes in a lot of different forms now. The things that I actually invested in: workshops, books, seminars, coaching programs, one-on-one tutors, one-on-one mentorships, and Google. And I would say if I had to allocate amount of time spent learning things, Google is still by far the biggest one. It's funny, the other day I just set up this new widget for our site. I Googled it and I did it in 2 hours. And so I think that the amount of time that elapses between wanting to figure something out and doing something, the more advanced you get, shortens. I remember it took me 3 years to figure out how to build a landing page, and the day I decided to do it, it took me 4 hours. So it took me 3 years and then 4 hours to actually figure it out because I was avoiding the feeling of sucking. And so if you can confront sucking faster and just get over that idea that sucking is a bad thing, then I think you compress the time between you and the skills you want. The highest value I've gotten from is from one-on-one mentorship. It's from people who are far ahead of me that were willing to speak strategically into my life. And that's usually because those people can identify all three of those things. They can identify skill deficiencies, they can identify character trait deficiencies, and they can identify things that you believe that are true that aren't. So that is where I've gotten the most leverage in my life, is on, and I've paid $20,000, $30,000 an hour to many, many different people just to have them speak into my life. Right underneath of that, as I was coming up, was joining masterminds. It was the getting around other people, because for me it was very lonely, and so just being around other people doing things, it A, got my competitive drive up, because I always wanted to be the best, and seeing people that I didn't think were like better than me do something better than me gave me hope that I too could do it. I'd see somebody be like, I don't think they work harder than me. I don't think they've got like some genius brain. If they can do it, I can do it too. Also, when I was in those communities, they would also already have sifted through information for me, because there's lots of information out there. The problem is that we have limited time. So it's no longer about, oh, information's free, you can find it anywhere. It's not free. It costs time to go find where it is. And so the idea is, when you pay someone for information, it's not you're paying for the info, you're paying for the time it took them to sort through it to hand it for you. So you're cutting time. That's what you're saving when you exchange the money. That's the idea. And I think a lot of people don't get that. This is the actual order that I bought things. So the first thing that I did free interviews. So I tried to reach out to people. So I just said, hey, I'll show you the stuff that I've got. You want to share notes with me? I can drive out there. We can meet up. And that's how I learned a lot of my initial stuff. Usually it was older guys who were willing to take a young buck under their wing. If you're young, the advantage you have is that you're young. You can get a little bit of that goodwill from older guys that you might not normally get if they're the same age. People are like, well, the millionaire won't let me pick his brain. It's like, well, no. His time's more valuable than yours. Either pay them, or you have to go down a rung. You have to keep going down until there's somebody that's either a peer or just slightly ahead of you who you can provide value to in a very narrow way. The next one I did is I joined a mastermind that was $10,000, and that was Sam Bakhtiari's mastermind, rest in peace. And he actually took enough of a liking to me that he said, why don't you just become my apprentice? And then he started paying me. So it was kind of weird. So I paid him and they paid me back. And so I worked from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day with him, basically as his secretary. And I learned a ton. 3 months just like learning all these new terms: sales, copywriting, affiliate marketing. I learned all this stuff just from him because he was in that world. From there, I started my first gym, and I stayed in that gym mastermind. During the time, I also bought a weekend workshop for Facebook ads. I learned Facebook ads in a small group of 10 people in 2 days. It was really valuable for me. Then I didn't really do anything for a couple of years, and then I went to Traffic and Conversion Summit. So that was an event, and I just learned more about marketing in general. I got introduced to different softwares that I then started using. And then from there, I kind of got more into the digital marketing world. So I joined some masterminds. In that world, I didn't do coaching programs myself. I actually ended up buying them for teammates. I think the coaching programs are really effective to teach methods. So if there's a method of acquisition you want to learn, whether it's like YouTube ads or Twitter ads or cold calling, whatever it is, joining a coaching program by other people trying to learn the same thing from somebody who's good is a great way to fast track your success. It just gives you the accountability. It helps you resolve problems faster. What you're buying is speed. It's not that you can't do it on your own. It's that you can do it faster with help. If you're trying to solve a specific problem, finding specific coaching programs is really good. If you've been stuck for a long time, I think that's where like masterminds and one-on-one mentorship is more valuable, because you probably have a strategic issue more than a tactical problem. Warren Buffett once said, the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. When I look at the periods of my life in business where I've had huge amounts of growth in very short periods of time, I've gone through things that I call the season of no. And a season of no isn't forever, it's just for now. And sometimes seasons can be 3 months, sometimes seasons can be 3 years. The longest season of no that I had was a 3-year season. During that season of no, I said no to friends. I was a little bit extreme, but I also was running from absolute poverty, and I had started seeing some success, and I was so afraid of messing it up that I said no to alcohol. So I stopped drinking entirely. I stopped saying yes to any social events. I was in a paid group that I was paying like $35,000 a year to be in.
and I didn't go to any of the events for 2 years, even though I paid for it. A lot of people think it hurts to say no to things, because it does, because you feel like you're rejecting other people, and most of us have been on the other side of that, and feeling rejected sucks. You have to kind of trick your brain into thinking that the no is actually a yes to the thing that matters most. Because the way that I've always thought about this was from like first principles perspective of, if I achieve this really big thing in 3 years or 5 years, all of these doors will be open for me. But if I allow these onesie, twosie, one-off conversations, one-off favors, one-off things to take me away from that one big thing, I know that 5 years from now, me not having the thing makes it far less likely that even those first doors are still open. They're only reaching out to me now because of the little bit of success that I've experienced, which I got here because of being focused on the one thing that mattered most. Gym Launch and the big $50 million whatever exit was built during a season of no. And all the people that I said no to still hit me up. But if I hadn't built that during a season of no, and I had said yes to all these little things and I said no to the thing that mattered most, they might not be here still hitting me up. There's two scenarios that I play out in my head. One is that at the end of this, where you achieve something, 95% of people are gonna be even further behind you. And so you'll still have access to them. The people who were on par with you shoulder to shoulder, always mutual respect. You still also have access to them. If for some reason someone is offended that you said no to them earlier on, guess what? There are other people that in this future state will walk into your life. And so there's a lot of no's that I made early on that I can't even remember the door that probably permanently shut because I have so many other doors that have opened for me.
For me, a very core belief that has been, I think, intrinsic to at least the material success that we've experienced has been a belief that meaning is self-ascribed. So that there is no inherent meaning in the things that we do, or the actions we take, or the outcomes that happen, but only that which we ascribe to it. And so because of that, I feel like it's allowed me, to the point of what you were saying about like the amount of pain and the amount of suffering that you have to go through in order to achieve the things on the other side. I think it's allowed me to reframe a lot of the discomfort into, what if this just is how it always has been? Or what if this is actually amazing? And what if this is exactly what it should look like? And so I think a lot of times it's the discrepancy between our expectations and reality that shape the emotions that we have in response to any given situation, bad, good, etc. And so I think a lot of people can't control their state. And we deal with this with a lot of the portfolio companies. It's funny because I don't even necessarily want to get in this. I want to talk about like the business and what's the strategy and how we're going to execute the stuff. But there's a big percentage of time where they're stressed and they think there's something wrong with that. And so I feel like a lot of people feel like there's something wrong with experiencing human emotions. And so they are stressed and then think there's something wrong with them, or they are sad. And I know that this is the thing that the keyboards are, their fingers are right on top of it. It's my belief, it is contrarian, I accept that it's the beliefs we have about our emotions that are the things that drive us mad.
Facts.
And so somebody's sad, and then they tell themselves that they're bad because they're sad, or they're wrong to be sad, or they're a piece of shit because they're sad, rather than saying, isn't this a beautiful thought about the human existence? Like, if I could not be sad, then I would not experience joy. So like, if I say that I don't want to be sad anymore, then I would also have to give up joy. Am I willing to do that? No. Well, then this is just a part. Like, I can't say that I want sunny days if there are no rainy days. Like, we don't say weather is good or bad, it just is. And so I think to the same degree, the human experience is also that way too, at least how I define it. And so I think having that as my backbone frame in terms of my worldview, although contrarian, has helped me a lot in dealing with the things that often derail entrepreneurs on their path to getting what they want. And so for me, that's been very helpful. So from a contrarian standpoint of like belief, Peter Thiel's question, like what closely held beliefs do you have that most people don't agree with? That's one of them.